The independent study I thought was definitely, probably one of the best parts of the semester. I did my project, the title of my project was Education and the Role of Children on Sri Lanka's Tea Plantations. And so I went to Hatton, which is a town in the Nuwara district, and basically the title's pretty self-explanatory. I went to schools every day, preschools and primary schools on the tea plantations, and I studied the kind of the daily life of how the school worked and everything like that. The preschools were run by NGOs and the primary schools run by the government, so I got to compare that, and I really just got to see how the community works and how the way they perceive their education and their children and how they foster their children and how that reflects a future that they see for their people. And just everything about the independent study, being by yourself, kind of being able to completely dictate what you do every day and what you study and who you talk to. I had an experience that was so entirely my own that everyone had that in different ways. That was kind of really, really valuable. Just because it's something that I can take away with that's like 100% mine, and I feel like that I have that own personal connection to Sri Lanka that no one else will have the exact same thing.
For my independent study, I decided to study political imagery and public perception, which is the kind of big title. But basically, I studied political posters of the president, Mahinda Rajapaksa, and I collected posters from around the country during a lot of our weekend visits. And then I ended up translating the Sinhala text, and then I went to some different locations around the country to conduct interviews with people about what they thought about these posters. And in the field, you know, it's definitely a new experience. You're not gaining information through books, you're getting information through hands-on activities, and you really have to do your own schedule. But it ended up being really rewarding, and I met a lot of great people. And Sri Lankans are just the kind of people that always want to help you and always want you to come into their homes and make tea for you, and they're willing to talk with you, and if you know Sinhala, then they love you automatically. And it ended up just being a really great experience. I got to go to Jaffna, which was crazy. So something to look forward to if you decide to do the program.
Throughout the semester here in Sri Lanka, a lot of students were expressing an interest in social justice. That was also a topic for me that I came along with my interest in Buddhism to Sri Lanka. And there is a NGO in Sri Lanka called Sarvodaya, a rural development program that's been going on for 50, 60 years. And having that precedent when I came to IEL program, I knew that that was going to develop into my independent study project. By no means that's not necessary. Many students are developing their ideas here. They're developing them 1 week before the independent study. But I had sort of this idea coming into the program, and I was able to develop that throughout the course of my classes and my studies. I was looking at the effect of Sarvodaya developing in multi-ethnic or multi-religious communities, because Sarvodaya operates with a Buddhist development philosophy, and I wanted to see how that transgressed religious boundaries and ethnic identities. So for that study, I, in consultation with our professor here and with the IEL staff, we decided that I would be studying in Nuwara, which is the tea country region, where there's lots of ethnic diversity and some social issues that have been addressed by Sarvodaya. Once you get there and once you're in the field, it's an incredible experience. By all means, it's the culmination of the IEL program, is those 2 to 3 weeks that you're staying by yourself or with a family, and you're apart from the group and you really feel like an individual.
My independent study topic began just very generally as wanting to do something with the Vedas, who are the indigenous people of Sri Lanka, and I'm not sure exactly why I decided on that. I think partly I wanted to do something that was kind of different from other people. I went to a village that was a relocation settlement for people under the Mahaveli Development Project. So the Mahaveli Development Project did a lot of irrigation, and They also created a national park out of this one area, and to create the national park they had to remove the Vedas from this one area, or from a few different villages, and move them to Hainanigala. And so there were lots of issues for them that had arisen from that, like they weren't allowed to go to the forest and hunt and collect honey and do their traditional things that they were used to doing. I got to meet a lot of really interesting and really nice people in my independent study.
For independent study, I studied sexual and reproductive health of women in the estate sector, and I went down to Neuralia and lived there for 3 weeks with my Amish friend. I originally was interested in this because through the ISLE program, about once a week we had these independent study lectures, which are basically lectures about just various general topics throughout Sri Lanka. We had one about the tea plantation workers, one about literacy and arts in Sri Lanka, just a whole multitude of different ideas. But my absolute favorite was when we went to the women's development shelter. It was just so enlightening and made you think so many different things. And ever since then I wanted to do something related to women in Sri Lanka, and I found that there is this huge discrepancy between the sexual and reproductive health in the estate sector versus Greater Sri Lanka, and that interested me, so I pursued it and that became my topic. It was cool because a lot of everyone's papers here worked with social issues in Sri Lanka, so I think hopefully all of us doing our separate projects kind of will, it makes me want to do something or change Sri Lanka, make it try and make this better. I'm really happy that I did it, and I think it did help me a lot just as a person, not just in Sri Lanka, for the rest of my life.